Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
And am I visible now?
Yes, you are visible.
Visible. Okay, then
Yes, sir.
I have a PPT PowerPoint slides.
So, can I
I will.
introduce you? So, can I?
Yes. You please do it, and then I will
Yes,
show the
yes, sir.
slides and start.
Thank you, sir. So, everyone, welcome back. We are again gathered for a session with Professor K.C. Gaura, sir. Sir is a former Vice Chancellor of KVM University, Karnataka, postdoctoral in NASA Fellowship at NASA Goddard Institute of Space Studies, USA, and also a recipient of High-Level Research Fellowship of French Ministry of Foreign Affairs at India, Rocancourt, France. He was the first professor and the founder head of the Department of Computer Science and Engineering, S.J. College of Engineering, Mysore. He was also the founder coordinator of Masangangotri University, Mysore. He has served as the co-chairman of the Indo-French Seminar on Symbolic Data Analysis and its Applications. His symbol signature mix of rare intellect, sine demure perseverance makes him highly admired. So without taking any of your time, I would like to welcome Professor J. K. Gaura sir to take the stage.
I'm very happy to participate in this orientation program. So let me show this PPT. Is the PPT visible?
No, sir, not yet.
Now is it visible?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, let me see what is the problem. I'll have to click that share. Is it at the bottom? We have mute, stop video, and share, and then this thing. That I'll have to click on that share because this Cisco is the first time I'm using it. At the bottom, I have share. So shall I click on the share? I think, Pavika, can you answer me?
Yes, sir.
Shall I?
So you can click on the share button. Then you will be having an option to share your entire screen or just a tab.
You mean at the bottom I have the share. I'll have to click on that. What did you say?
Yes, sir. Yes,
I
sir.
will click on that, and then what should I do?
Then there will be options to share your entire screen or just a Google Chrome tab, like the tab in which your presentation would be opened.
Okay. Screen one. That is screen one is there. So I think I'll have to click on that screen one now.
Yes, sir.
Now is it visible?
So
Yes,
your
sir.
entire screen is visible. Yes, sir. Your
Is it
entire
visible?
screen is visible.
Can you read the topic?
Sir, can you open the presentation? Your Google Chrome is visible right now.
No. Is it visible now?
Yes, sir.
Hmm?
Yes, sir. Now the presentation is visible.
Visible. So please read the title of the presentation so that.
India, a passage from glorious past to glorious future.
Okay. Then everything seems to be okay. Yeah? I will start the presentation. welcome to all the participants. The topic for the presentation is India, a passage from a glorious past to a glorious future. There is a quotation of Arnold Toynbee, famous British historian. It reads as shown above. In earlier centuries, foreign invaders conquered India. In this century, Indian ancient thoughts and wisdom will conquer the world. So, the main topics in this presentation, first is I will be talking about the glorious past of India, what our ancestors had achieved in the fields of science and technology. That is glorious past. And then great Indian mind went to sleeping during 9th to 18th centuries. Great Indian mind, what is the reason for that? That also we will see. And the third will be challenging present, in what areas we have achieved, in what areas we could not achieve, where we stand, that is in a challenging present. And then fourth is glorious future. So how to read the glorious future? So what are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? What are our opportunities? What are our challenges? We study all of them, and accordingly we'll be able to reach a glorious future. Ancient India's contributions to the world. India was the mother of our philosophy. This is not what an Indian is telling. This is a foreign thinker. You will see what is his name at the end. He tells India was the meeting of mother of our philosophy. What is annotation request? Krishna is requesting to annotate the shared content. So what do you want to? It is not going forward at all. Sudha Agarwal. What has happened, Pavika? Why it is not moving forward at all?
So there might
It has
be.
stopped. So someone has sent a message, and Anuradha Sharma, you see, can you please share the PPT, etc. Someone is meeting recording is in progress. What has happened? They stopped the meeting in the middle.
So the PPT has stopped, so like it's not proceeding forward.
I think someone sent something, some participant sent something, and then happened. I don't know what he did. So can you meeting record? Why it is? I think the other participants should not in between interfere. I think then it stops or what? Because someone wanted to do something and he sent a message, and I didn't accept the message. Now it has stopped.
Sir, can you please try to close the presentation and then present it again?
Okay then. Okay. And now I think it is coming. Yes. Indian was the mother of our philosophy, mother of much of our mathematics, mother through the Buddha of the ideals embodied in Christianity, mother through the village community of self-government and democracy. Mother India is in many ways the mother of us all. Mother India is in many ways mother of us all. So this is according to famous American historian Will Durant. He says that Indian was the mother of our philosophy, mother of mathematics, and so on. And there is another quotation by another great man. He says, I am convinced that everything has come down to us from the banks of Ganges, the river Ganges, astronomy, astrology, psychosis, etc. And this is famous writer Voltaire. You've heard of the name of Panini. So he lived about 500 BC. So he is a grammarian of Sanskrit. And you can also ask whether he is a father of computer science also. So that is what he has achieved, Panini. Panini uses meta rules, transformations, and recursions with such sophistication that his grammar as the equivalent to a Turing machine. In this sense, Panini may be considered the father of computing machines. His work was the forerunner to modern formal language theory and precursor to computing. Paninian grammars have also been devised for non-Sanskrit languages. The Backus-Naur form, which all the computer science students study, the Backus-Naur form. So you can also perhaps call Panini-Backus form or BNF grammars used to describe modern programming languages have significant similarities to Panini's grammar rules. And you must remember that he lived 500 BC. His Karaka Siddhanta, so there is a Siddhanta theory known as Karaka Siddhanta, is similar to the semantic network of computer science. The semantic network of computer science. So his Karaka Siddhanta is very much similar to that. This is a quotation, Mark Twain. India is the cradle of the human race, he says, the birthplace of human speech, the mother of history, the grandmother of legend, and the great grandmother of tradition. Our most valuable and most constructive materials in the history of man are treasured up in India only, according to the famous writer Mark Twain. And this is by Will Durant, American historian. India was the mother of our race, and Sanskrit the mother of European languages. India was the mother of our philosophy, like that, which I had already displayed. So he says, Mother India is the mother of us all, Will Durant. And this is Romain Rolland, the French philosopher and writer and poet and Nobel laureate, Romain Rolland. And Mahatma Gandhi, you see the picture of both Romain Rolland and Mahatma Gandhi. So Mahatma Gandhi went to Switzerland and met Romain Rolland, so who is a Nobel laureate writer. So he says about India, if there is one place on the face of this earth where all the dreams of living men have found a home from the earliest days when man began to dream of existence, and that is the great country India. That is what Romain Rolland tells about India. And this is what Albert Einstein tells about India. We owe a lot to the Indians, he says, Einstein. We owe a lot to the Indians who taught us how to count, without which no worthwhile scientific discovery would have been made. And this is what the former ambassador of China to USA, his name Hu Shi, told. India conquered and dominated China culturally for 20 centuries without ever having to send a single soldier across our border. We did not send any soldier, but Buddhism went there. So that is what he means that India conquered and dominated China culturally for 20 centuries. And this is what Grand Duff historian tells. Many of the advances in the sciences that we consider today to have been made in Europe were in fact made in India centuries ago. So this is a great tribute to Indians. They were made centuries ago. And India invented the number system. Zero was invented by Aryabhatta. So India invented the number system, and zero was invented by Aryabhatta. The place value system, the decimal system, was developed in India 100 BC. They used to use these words, to represent void, shunya, and ka means sky, akasha means space, bindu means dot, and so on. This is the method of graduated calculation was documented in Panchasiddhanta. Panchasiddhanta means 5 principles in the 5th century. So, but the technique is said to be dating from Vedic time, circa 2000 BC. So this is a graduated calculation. We can do different types of calculations very easily using this. And then the pi. The value of pi was first calculated by Bodhayana, and he explained the concept of what is now known as the Pythagorean theorem. Actually, the Pythagorean theorem should be called as Bodhayana theorem, because Bodhayana had invented the same thing what Pythagorean had invented. British scholars have last year, means in 1999, officially published that Bodhayana's works dates back to the 6th century, which is long before the European mathematics. So unfortunately, it is not called as Bodhayana theorem, but still it is called as Pythagorean theorem. Algebra, trigonometry, calculus came from India. The early algebra, early trigonometry, and early calculus came from India. And this famous equation ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0, x equal to minus b, this is not, these quadratic equations were by Sridharacharya in the 11th century. We all study them now. So this is quadratic equation was given by Sridharacharya in the 11th century. And about the big numbers, the largest numbers the Greeks and the Romans used were 10 to the power of 6, whereas Indians or Hindus used numbers as big as 10 to the power of 53, with specific names as early as 5000 BC. During the Vedic period itself, they had thought about 10 to the power of 53, whereas others, Greeks and Romans, only 10 to the power of 6. And now, of course, the biggest number we know is Google Plex, 10 to the Google power, or 10 to the power of 10 to the power of 100. That is written as 1 followed by Google zeros. And the university system came to India first, it started from India, in fact. So the world's first university was established in Takshila, 700 BC. First university in the world, not in India, in the world. More than 10,500 students from all over the world studied more than 60 subjects here. See, more than 60 subjects they studied, and more than 10,500 students they studied in Takshila University, world's first university. The University of Nalanda came in second university. The University of Nalanda, built in the 4th century BC, was one of the greatest achievements of ancient India in the field of education. In 700 BC, of course, Takshila, the first university of the world, more than 10,500 students from different countries studied there, and more than 60 subjects were taught. And 400 BC, in Nalanda, during the time of King Harshavardhana, the Chinese traveler Huan Sang studied here, and later he became a teacher and taught there. Huan Sang, you have heard of Huan Sang? He studied here in Nalanda, and then he also became a teacher there. In 1205 AD, a group of just 18 invaders, 18 invaders under the leadership of Khilji destroyed this university where 15,000 lived and studied. You see, 15,000 students were there and just a group of 18 invaders, so with swords and so on, they invaded and destroyed that university. It seems the big library of Nalanda was burning continuously for 6 months after it was burnt by Khilji and his soldiers. Sanskrit is the mother of all European languages. The linguists in Europe themselves say Sanskrit is the most suitable language for computer software. Reported in Forbes magazine in 1807. Forbes magazine, famous magazine in 1807, said that Sanskrit is the most suitable language for computer software, according to Forbes magazine. According to the Forbes magazine, Sanskrit is the most suitable language for computer software. Bhaskaracharya calculated the time taken by the Earth to orbit the Sun hundreds of years before the astronomers marked it. Time taken by Earth to orbit the Sun, they calculated in the 5th century itself. According to them, it was 365. We say 365 days, So in the 5th century itself, they had found out. So the time taken by Earth is 365.258756484. And what about Ayurveda? Ayurveda is the earliest school of medicine known to humans. Charaka, the father of medicine, consolidated Ayurveda 2,500 years ago. Today, now in the 21st century, today Ayurveda is fast regaining its rightful place in our civilization. The art of navigation was born in the river Sindh 6,000 years ago. Navigation. The very word navigation is derived from the Sanskrit word Navagati. Navagati means new type of movement, Navagati. From that, in a navigation, they have taken the word navigation. The word navy is also derived from Sanskrit, Navagati, navy. According to the Gemologica Institute of America, up to until 1896, India was the only source for diamonds to the world. Up to 1896, India was the only source for the diamonds to the world. Afterwards, from South Africa and so on, they started taking. And this chess, also known as Chaturanga or Ashtapada, was invented in India. Chess was invented in India. Sushruta is the father of surgery. You see Sushruta there. 2,600 years ago, he and health scientists of his time, 2,600 years ago, before Christ, conducted complicated surgeries like cesareans, cataract, artificial limbs, fractures, urinary stones, and even plastic surgery and brain surgery. Usage of anesthesia was well known in ancient India also. You see, over 125 surgical equipments were used. Deep knowledge of anatomy, physiology, etiology, embryology, digestion, metabolism, genetics, and immunity is also found in many of the texts of the past. The earliest reservoir and dam for irrigation was built in Saurashtra in India. The world's first dam was built in Saurashtra in India. When many cultures were only nomads and forest dwellers, over 5,000 years ago, Indians established Harappan culture in Sindhu Valley, or known as Indus Valley civilization. 5,000 years ago. In ancient times, commodities like sugar, palm oil, coconut, cotton cloth, clarified butter, cast iron, tin sheets, copper vessels, dyes and pigments like cinnabar, ochre, indigo, and lac, perfumes like sandalwood oil, musk tamarind, costus, makhir, camphor, and even crude glass crockery were being exported from India to Europe and other countries. The earliest recorded use of copperware in India has been around 3000 BC. The findings at Mohenjo-daro and Harappa bear this out. Earliest documented observation of smelting of metals by Greek historians in the 4th century BC. Now let us see briefly India's contribution to astronomy. In India, I found a race of mortals living upon the earth, but not adhering to it, inhabiting cities, but not being fixed to them, possessing everything, but possessed by nothing. Apollonius Dionysius, Greek thinker and traveler of 1st century tells, in 1st century, he visited India, and this is how he appreciates the Indians. The calculation of eclipses and the Earth's circumference, the heliocentric theory of gravitation, etc. You will find there. This facsimile is from the Siddhantika, Pancha Siddhantika. 5 principles. Siddhantika means 5 principles, dated around the 5th century. This text graphically shows how eclipses are to be calculated. Thus, this text foreshadows what Western astronomers propounded nearly 1000 years later. They propounded only 1000 years later, Western astronomers. India's contribution to physics and chemistry, let us briefly see. Contribution to physics and chemistry, what our ancestors had contributed. A.L. Basham, Australian Indologist, tells, ancient Indian theories lacked the empirical base, but they were brilliant imaginative explanations of the physical structure of the world. In a large measure, agreed with the discoveries of modern physics. Many of the things what they predicted centuries ago, so they are proved in modern physics also. That is the greatness. The 5 basic physical elements, fire, water, and so on, sky, and so on, they were indicated by our ancestors. Panchabhutas, we call them Panchabhutas. And they also used, in Vedic times, the words of Anu and Paramanu. We use Anu and Paramanu, molecules and atoms. They use such words, Anu, Paramanu. Indian ideas on atomic physics. There are some basic ideas about this. And then let us see what is India's contribution to medical science. Medical science. This is what Thoreau, American thinker, tells. In the great teachings of the Vedas, there is no touch of sectarianism. It is for all ages, climes, and nationalities, and is the royal road of attainment to great knowledge. This is according to Thoreau. And regarding the medical field, Shastra Karma, the art of surgery. So the art of surgery in Sanskrit is known as Shastra Karma. This was known to Indians, Ayurveda, the science of longevity. They used to perform eye operations also. And then comes the contribution of yoga from India to the world. Yoga, health of the body and the mind, for which yoga is very much needed. India's contribution to the fine arts. Because yoga, I'm not telling you because you are all familiar with that. Now, India's contribution to the fine arts. If I'm asked which nation had to be advanced in the ancient world in respect to education and culture, then I would say it was India. This is according to Max Muller, the German Indologist. And India's contribution, in many ways in the music, Karnataka music, Hindustani music, all types of music. Then paintings, old paintings. So in many of the caves in India, and linguistics. So linguistics in Sanskrit and local languages, and dance, various form of Bharatanatyam, Kuchipudi, and different types of dances in India, and theatre forms, where dramas used to take place thousands of years ago. So India has contributed a lot to music, paintings, linguistics, dance, theatres, and to sports and games also. Ancient India had contributed. Chess, snakes and ladders, playing cards, polo, the martial arts of judo and karate originated from India. And then philosophy, of course, this is only an indication. India's contribution to philosophy, Bhagavad Gita. So you see Arjuna and Krishna there. Not only that, Vedas, Upanishads, Brahma Sutras, and so on, So India's contribution to philosophy is substantial. Regarding religion, this is what Mark Twain, American author, tells. In religion, India is the only millionaire. Only millionaire means India is very rich in religions. The one land that all men desire to see, and having seen once, by even a glimpse, would not give for all the shows of all the rest of the globe combined. So that is how he was happy, visiting India. And this is, other contribution to India, meditation and renunciation, and ahimsa, non-violence. So you see a picture of Mahatma Gandhi there, and religious tolerance. India is very well known for religious tolerance. And this is what Swami Vivekananda tells, human excellence depends on development of culture. Many small civilizations were formed, but were confined to small regions. But only Indian culture can be called as the first world culture because it engulfed entire India. Indian culture is human culture, not a small region, but a big region as big as India. Culture that focuses on inculcating human values in man. And unique features of Indian culture, freedom of thought. Freedom of thought. Every thought is allowed to develop freely. Theists are there, atheists are also there. So theists, both atheists, they are given free hand. Vedanta speaks of soul as image of the Supreme. Everyone is free to imagine and accept God's form according to one's own belief. You can believe in Rama, you can believe in Krishna, you can believe in Shiva, you can believe in Ganesha, you can believe in Christ, you can believe in any God. Every thought school is part and parcel of Indian culture. So we can compare it to a garden, A garden has variety of flowers and plants. Then only it is beautiful. These differences increase the beauty of the garden. So India is like that, It believes in all of them and says that all the religions are true, all cultures are true, and so on. And then the theory of karma phala. India is known for the theory of karma phala and rebirth. And then, third is idealistic families, joint families. India was very well known for idealistic families, joint families. And then fourth is abundance of saints and reformers. India is very well known for abundance of saints and reformers. Fifth is division of society order. It is not based on personal choice. It is not made by any god or any other thing. It is not given by birth in a division of society. It is based on personal choice, interest, capabilities, and personal life for personal development and for development of society. An Indian way, this according to Dr. Arnold Toynbee, British historian, it is already becoming clear that a chapter which has Western beginning will have to have an Indian ending. He says that it is already becoming clear that a chapter which has a Western beginning will have to have an Indian ending. If it is not to end in the destruction of the human race, a world war and so on, that's what he means. So at the supremely dangerous moment in history, the only way of salvation for mankind is the Indian way. So to live in peace and to have salvation of the mankind without war. So the only way is the Indian way. It is not an Indian telling, but Dr. Arnold Toynbee, British historian, tells. And then if you talk about Indian economy, trade between Kerala and Rome existed first century. Roman coins of 123 BC and 117 AD are found in Kerala. 2000 years ago, Kerala had a trade link with Rome. Indian exports included spices, aromatics, textiles, muslin and cotton, ivory, iron, etc. Indian pepper was known as black gold and muslin known as woven air. Muslin cloth in India is very well known for muslin cloth, and it was so thin that it was called as woven air itself. Romans supplied India cut gems, corals, wine, perfumes, papyrus, copper, tin, and lead ingots. Whereas we exported all the spices, aromatics, textiles, muslin, cotton, ivory, iron, gems, etc. 2000 years ago, Indian exports exceeded Indian imports. You see, 2000 years ago, Indian exports exceeded Indian imports. Surplus was kept by Indian traders in form of gold coins or silver coins or red coral. That was the hard currency of ancient world. That time, they did not have rupees or dollars, pounds, and so on. The hard currency was in the form of gold coins, silver coins, and so on. So very rich Indian merchants and so on. They used to store gold coins. During 23 to 79 AD, the cost of luxury items imported from India were so costly that a Roman wrote, India was exporting to Rome, at that time in AD, 23 to 17 AD, a Roman wrote, not a year passed in which India did not take 50 million sesterces away from Rome. Sesterces is something like $1, So every year they say that Indian merchants used to take 50 million sesterces away from Rome. Indian merchants used to do that. A Roman senator once said, all our gold is going to India, he says, because they buy Indian things. A Roman senator said, all our gold is going to India. It is a heaven on earth. It is heaven on earth is what he tells. Globalization and India, a history of 2000 years. India enjoyed 20% of global trade, and large ships sailed to far eastern countries from ports along the eastern coast in Kerala, Karnataka, Maharashtra, and so on. Indian traders earned a lot of gold. And during the Gupta period, international trade connections reached their peak because of trades to Far East, West Asia, Africa, and Rome. And that is known as golden period in Indian history. Gupta era is known as golden era because India was very rich. It reached the pinnacle of richness during the Gupta period. And 8th century onwards, that is post-Gupta era, Indian international trade started to decline because Arabs became the most powerful maritime power and grabbed trades to West Asia, Africa, and Rome. And 8th to 12th century onward, up to 8th century to 12th century, initial supremacy in trade in the Far East was also lost to Arabs and Chinese. So this was lost in 12th centuries. So India lost. So 12th to mid 19th centuries, with the loss of global trade, Indian economy and society became inward looking. So that it became inward looking because they were not so rich after that. From century onwards, 12th century onwards, the richness was lost. Around 1817, Asiatic mode of production and self-sufficient villages. So that idea came into existence. 1817 to 1914, 19th century globalization started. Actually, now what is going on is the third globalization. The first globalization, so took place in 1870 to 1914, and during this period, so India did very well during the first globalization, and this ended in the First World War. 1948, the GATT was established, and 1995, World Trade Organization in a WTO was established, and GATT came into force in 1996 in India also. Indian global trade in a reasons for decline. We said that in after 12th century it declined. Why? One is political reason, inability to protect the centers by foreign invaders, resulting in plundering and destruction. That is a political reason. So foreigners came and destroyed them. And geographic reason was many ports had to be deserted due to silting of rivers. Third was technological reason, technology of that time. Ships of the competitors, of Chinese and Arabs, were improved in build, size, speed, and armory. We did not improve our technological systems. And spiritual reason was also there. A greater India earlier, was established by a gentle fusion of all races in harmony. It gave a spiritual heritage to the original inhabitants. The advent of foreign rules destroyed this spiritual base. Mind this, the advent of foreign rule destroyed spiritual base. And this is what Lord Macaulay, he talked about India in a British Parliament. He says, I have traveled across the length and breadth of India, and I have not seen one person who is a beggar, who is a thief. He tells, I have traveled across the length and breadth of India, and I have not seen one person who is a beggar or who is a thief. Such wealth I have seen in this country, such high moral qualities, moral values, people of such caliber that I do not think would ever conquer this country, India. He says in Britain, before conquering India. So we cannot conquer India. So he says that. But if you want to conquer, what we should do, he says, unless we break the very backbone of this nation, this is what he tells in the British Parliament. It is recorded. Unless we break the very backbone of this nation, means India. So, and its spiritual and cultural heritage. We have to destroy India's spiritual and cultural heritage. Then only we can dominate in India. This is what he tells. And therefore, I propose that we replace our old and ancient education system or culture. So this is what he tells. India has her own education system, but so so therefore, I propose to replace our old and ancient education system, her culture. For if the Indians think that all that is foreign and English is good and greater than our own, the Indians think that all that is foreign and English is good and greater than our own, they will lose their self-esteem, their native self-culture they will lose. And they will become what we want them. They wanted to enslave us. Dominated nation. We want to dominate India. So this is what in British Parliament it tells. If you want to conquer India means you'll have to do this. If you want to dominate India. Lord Macaulay speech in 1835 in the British Parliament, February 2nd, 1835 in British Parliament. So this is what he tells in 1835. Then as I said earlier, India became a sleepy nation. Became a sleepy nation between 13th and 18th centuries. It became a sleepy nation. The philosophy adopted for about 1,000 years the effect of putting us to sleep, making us lazy. Two lines of German poet may describe our people during recent centuries. Eat is sleep, death is better, but it is best never to have been born. That is the state from which Vivekananda worked hard to rescue us. So Vivekananda wanted to rescue us, Swami Vivekananda. From this, we were Indian, were asleep, sleeping. We are slowly awakened to the sense of manliness, strength, and capacity for work. This is what Swami Ranganathananda tells. He quotes Vivekananda also here. And Indian and European minds, if you compare at that time, you will see the difference. Ancient India and great Indian mind, the spirit of inquiry was there, and quest for ultimate truth was there. It was characterized the Indian mind in ancient India. And 12th to mid 19th century, it changed. The great Indian mind went into deep slumber or sleep. all the subsequent failures, slavery, poverty, backwardness of Indians resulted from that slumber, because the great Indian mind went into deep sleep. And what happened at the same time, between the 12th and 19th centuries, so Europe, they woke up. Ancient Europe and then half awake in mind. The European mind underwent an intellectual awakening. I think some of the participants are speaking. I think please mute your.
Everyone, please mute your mics and turn off your cameras.
Subsequent achievements and prosperity of the West resulted from their awakening. So when we were sleeping, between 12th and 19th centuries, so the Europe woke up. That's why, they became rich and they started dominating India. Aurobindo tells, why, on decline and resurrection of Indian civilization, why we declined and how we can resurrect ourselves. This is what Aurobindo tells, Someone asks a question to him, what was the real cause for the gradual decline and final arrest of Indian civilization? Aurobindo answers, Tamasic men and Tamasic states of societies discouraged independence of opinion. Tamasic means tamas means darkness, Their watchword was authority. He should tell, that person, that book should tell, and so on, They never used to think, their watchword was authority. The society was full of inertia. Every detail of our life was fixed by shastras and customs. The result was increasing empowerment of Indian intellect, or Buddhi Shakti, intellect and Buddhi. The result was increasing empowerment of Indian intellect. It became very poor. Intellect became very poor. Continue. Another person asks, how shall we recover our lost intellectual freedom? How can we? Then Aurobindo replies, by liberating our minds in all subjects from the thraldom in slavery of authority. India is to survive and do her appointed work in the world. The youth of India must. This is what a youth must do. So this applies youth like you. Learn to think. Learn to think. To think on all subjects, not one subject, but on all subjects. To think independently, fruitfully, going to the heart of the things, not surface, heart of the things. Sharing sophism and prejudice, striking down obscurantism, is what he tells. On decline and section of India. Aurobindo continues. Aurobindo continues. A time will come when the Indian mind will come off the darkness that has fallen upon it. So he says that Indians will come out of this darkness. Is to think or hold opinions at second or third hand, because someone has said, some other country has said, some other person has said. Cease to think or hold opinions at second hand or third hand level, and reassert its right to judge. You will have to judge. You are the best judge, and inquire in a perfect freedom into the meaning of its own culture and tradition. This is what Aurobindo says in his book Song of Humanity in 1911. And now India today, let us see what is the status of India today. 1/3 of all NASA scientists are Indians. 34% of Microsoft's creative team is India born. 34% of Microsoft creative team is India born. Over 5,000 Indian professors in US universities are there. Over 5,000 persons in USA and Canada. Over 30,000 Indians doctors in USA. 30,000 Indian doctors. This is a present status. And General GE, General Electric Company, has the second largest R&D center in India with more than 1,000 PhDs. With more than 1,000 PhDs. 50% of Fortune 500 companies outsource work to India. Seventh, we are among 3 nations who have built supercomputers. India is one of the 3 nations which has built supercomputers. We are among 6 nations who built satellites and launch vehicles. In space technology, India is leading country. And ninth is over 35% startups in Silicon Valley in America is by Indians. Just see. 10th, we have largest English-speaking technical manpower in India. 11th, Indian software professionals work in all developed countries. 12th, emerging as a high-quality manufacturing destination. 13th, 5 Indian companies won the Deming Prize for quality in 2004. It is Deming Prize is given for quality, excellence. So they won. Indian companies becoming global is very common. Indian brands becoming respectable now. India is becoming a perfect destination for high quality health services, R&D and manufacturing now. This is the 6th point. And 7th point, India is the first democracy to elect a woman prime minister. First democracy. 18th point, India is the 7th nuclear power in the world. 19th point, India is the 5th largest economy in the world now. 20th, India is the largest democracy in the world. 21, India has the 2nd largest population in the world, next only to China. 22nd, India is the 4th nation in the world to have developed or developing the nuclear submarines. 23rd, India is the 5th nation in the world to be in the multi-billion-dollar space commerce business. 24th, India is the 4th nation in the world to develop or nearly to ICBMs, ICBM intercontinental ballistic missiles. They can travel up to 14,000 kilometers. India is the 3rd nation in the world to be able to develop land-based and sea-based cruise missiles. And one IT to many ITs. India is very much leading in one IT. So that is information technology. But there are many ITs are there. What are those ITs? Let us see. India has been sending crusaders fully armed with knowledge to conquer foreign countries. Not guns, but with knowledge. In Silicon Valley in America, every 3rd person you meet is an Indian. More than 70% software. Every 3rd person you meet is an Indian in Silicon Valley in America. More than 70% of software companies are owned by Indian engineers. 34% of Microsoft's creative team is India-born. This is what R.A. Mishelkar, famous Indian scientist, told. IT, within quote marks, has shown the way to India's tomorrow. It has shown India's way tomorrow, from today to tomorrow. But the future of India is not in IT, as in information technology. That is the conventional meaning. IT means information technology. He says it is in IT as an Indian talent. So IT, one is information technology. Because of this IT, we have become famous now. And in future, it does, India will be famous because of IT only, but it will be Indian talent in many fields. What are those many fields? I will show you. So India has many strengths, So strength, I will not read because you may not be able to read them. I think they is small. These are all Indian strengths, and we have weaknesses. These are perhaps you will not be able to read, but I have separate 4 slides, to indicate strength, weakness, opportunity, and that's this is strengths. These are also IT. So one ITM is Indian Talented Mind Power. Other is ITSC, IT Supercomputer. Other is ITPR, Indian Trees and Plant Resources. India is very rich in trees and plant resources. ITK, Indigenous Technical Knowledge, like Ayurveda and so on. ITYM, Indian Techniques of Yoga and Meditation. India is very rich in that. ITS, Indian Technology of Space. ITHR, Indian Treasure, Human Resource. ITMI, Indian Technological and Management Institutes. ITE, Indians trained in English. And weaknesses. We have weaknesses. We will have to overcome our weakness. What is one of the weaknesses? ITM, Indian tainted mindset. Said that in our mindset is tainted or poor. ITH, Indian toiling work habit. We are not hard working as foreigners. Work habit is poor. Indian toiling habit. ITQ, Indian thrust towards quality. We don't give importance for quality. Only quantity we give importance. ITE, Indian team effort. So we are very poor in team effort. They said that in Japan, if 1 plus 2 people work, it will be 1 plus 1 will be more than 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. But it is said that in India, if 1 plus 2 people work, 1 plus 1 will not be 2. It will be less than 2. It will become 0 or sometimes they say. ITI, Indian third rate infrastructure. Infrastructure is not very good, of course, now so it's slowly improving. ITS, Indian trust of self. We don't have self-confidence, that is one of our weakness. So we don't have self-confidence. We look to foreign countries, for all solutions. ITCM, IT for common man, how to use the IT for common man, how can he be benefited? These are some of the weaknesses. The previous slide indicated the strength, what strength India has. So we'll have to make use of the strength and weaknesses. We'll have to overcome the weaknesses. We want to have a glorious future. And then opportunity. We have a lot of opportunities. One is ITI, Indian tourism industry. So we are not giving importance to tourism at all. Whereas in other countries, like even small countries like Singapore, Malaysia, and so on, they're giving a lot of importance to tourism. Yes, now started giving importance for tourism, Indian tourism industry. This opportunity is there, a lot of opportunity. ITES, IT enabled services, many types of IT enabled services. ITBT, IT for biotechnology, a lot of opportunities. ITAB, Indian talents in arts for business. How we can use arts for business. ITAB. ITC, not tobacco, and IT is Indian trials clinical. ITC is Indian trials, clinical trials. So a lot of opportunities are there. So we started utilizing them. And then threats or challenges. Earlier they used to say threat, now they use the word challenge instead of threats. And ITEA, Indian Training Ethical Awareness. So in offices and so on, so should not give money for everything, So ITEA, Indian Training Ethical Awareness. Indian thirst for water. Threat, water shortage will be there. So you'll have to use water resources carefully. ITSA, Indian Toilet and Sanitation Awareness. Only recently it has come in ITSA. Indian Toilets and Sanitation Awareness. It was not there earlier. Now it is slowly coming. And ITL, internal tensions and losses. You see, because of tensions, now you see what is going on in other places and so on. So a lot of internal tensions, and because of that, a lot of losses are there. And then ITC, Indian tree cover. So now the tree cover is actually very less in India. So we'll have to increase that. So this is the challenges or threats. So strength, weakness. Now we'll have to have one integration. Should have the integration of what? Science of the matter with the science of the soul is what Swami Vivekananda used to tell. Integration of science of the matter. So that is, matter means science and technology, it comes there. Science of the soul, So the technical excellence must integrated with the spiritual excellence. The technical excellence is required, and technology excellence is required. Along with that, we also require spiritual excellence. Swami Vivekananda called Newton and Galileo as prophets of physical sciences. Vivekananda called Newton, Isaac Newton and Galileo and other scientists as prophets of physical science. And Upanishadic Rishi as prophets of spirituality. He called Vyasa, Valmiki and all Upanishadic Rishis as prophets of spirituality. So scientists are prophets of physical science and Rishis are prophets of spirituality. What the world needs today is scientific saints. He should be a scientist, but he should be like a saint. Is what Vivekananda tells. Technological prophets. So we require prophets, but there should also be technological prophets and engineering sages. Sages, but they are engineering sages also, not only living in forests, but engineering sages. An integration of technology without outside in the physical world, an integration of technology without and spirituality within. Spirituality within us and technology without. An integration of technology without and spirituality within. So should happen. This is what. And projection of Swami Vivekananda. In Belur Math, Calcutta, after a long meditation, so Vivekananda said, every day he used to have long meditations, and after coming out of meditation, he used to tell every day to his disciples, today in my meditation I saw this, I saw this, I saw this vision, I had this vision and so on. One day Vivekananda said, I've seen 500 years of future of our country, India. So I've seen 500 years of the future of our nation, India. What will happen to India after 500 years? So this he told, in perhaps 1902, he passed away in 1902. So just before that, he said, so I've seen the future of India after 500 years means it will be in the year 2400. So none of us will be there in 2400. Our great grandchildren will be there. So I've seen what will be India's status 500 years from now. This is what one day he said after coming out of deep meditation. And then his disciples are very much interested. It kindled their interest. Swamiji, what did you see? What will be the status of India after 500 years? The disciples of Vivekananda wanted to know. Vivekananda replied, I saw that India has become great after 500 years, in 2400. Saw that India has become great. And her glory has become so great. I saw that India has become great and her glory has become so great that all her past glory has faded into insignificance. I saw that India has become great. Her glory has become so great that all her past glory has faded into insignificance. This is what Swami Vivekananda said more than 100 years ago. And he said, this is what will happen to India in 2400. India will become a great country. But India is to become a great country means all of us should strive for that. Cannot afford to sleep. So this will be the, I think, last but one slide. So what will be the conclusions? conclusions. This is what projection by Goldman Sachs. By 2050, they said, by 2050, conditioned on policies supportive of growth of economy, economic and financial powers will be in this order in the world. The first will be China, second will be USA, and third will be India. This is according to Goldman Sachs report. By 2050, Vivekananda talked about 2400. Now this is 2050. So China will be the leading economic power. Second will be USA. Third will be our dear India. So if you want to achieve this, go further, not remain as three. We want to become number one. For achieving the above, one IT, is a small thing. One IT, information technology, has demonstrated before the world what Indians are capable of doing. This IT, using information technology, we have demonstrated to the world through Infosys, Wipro, and so on, what Indians are capable of doing. We have shown. Infosys has shown, Wipro has shown, TCS has shown. Many of these IT companies have shown, what India can achieve using IT, where IT is information technology. But IT means not only information technology, many things. For making India a developed country by 2050, we should concentrate on 25 or more ITs. I had indicated strength, weakness, opportunity, and threats. Many ITs, more than 25 ITs I had indicated. In all of them, some of which are strengths. Some ITs are strengths. You must make use of the strength, use it fully. Some of them are weaknesses. So we'll have to overcome the weaknesses. Some of them are opportunities. You must hold the opportunities. You must make use of the opportunities. And others are threats. Threats. So you must solve the threats. It is strengths to be utilized. Strengths to be utilized. It is weaknesses to be overcome. It is opportunities to be seized. Opportunities must be seized, otherwise we will lose them once for all. And it is threats to be eliminated. The threats must be eliminated. So, if you want to become a super nation, 2050, making a developed nation by 2050, strengths to be utilized, it is weaknesses to be overcome, it is opportunities to be seized, it is threats to be eliminated. And that all depends upon youngsters like you. So is, not only in the IT field, in all the fields, must prosper. In all the fields. Then only Indian flag will fly high. Then only Indian flag will fly high. So it all depends upon the youngsters like you now and youngsters in future, what you can do. So using not only one IT, but many IT. So as you see here in the picture around India, all types of resources are there. So must make use of all those resources available. Then India will become the richest country in India in the world by 2050. And these are all the references. One is India's gift to the world. Gayatri Parivar Youth Group, Bangalore, they had prepared some materials. Then another book is there, Eternal Talented India, 108 facts. This is by the Vivekananda Life Skills Academy, Hyderabad. First one was from a group in Bangalore. Second one is from Hyderabad. It's a book. Second one is a book actually. And then of course Google search findings. You find many data and so on. So these are the references. So I sincerely thank you for your patient listening. So let us hope that in future also we will have a glorious India made a glorious past, and now we have made efficient progress in some areas. In some of the areas we are lagging, so we'll have to overcome all our shortcomings so that future also the glory of India. So I hope that the flag of India flies high. All the best.
Thank you so much, sir. That was indeed very enlightening. Anyone, if you want to ask any questions, you can ask.
Welcome to ask any. I have sent the PPT to Triple IT Allahabad. So if anyone is interested, can get a copy PPT. I think there are 85 slides are there, contain a lot of useful information. Want to get a copy of this PPT? You just contact the organizer of this program. He will be able to provide you the PPT of this. Of course, I referred these and many some other books also.
So anyone wants to ask any question, you can ask now.
Hello, sir.
Yes. Please speak.
Sir, this is Shivam, sir. Sir, I have a
Yes.
question for you, sir. Sir,
Yes. Please.
do you really think, sir, that we can uh, redevelop our education system to bring back the old teachings and old manner to the education system?
Not fully the old system, but you have to see what were some of the good points in our old system, and now we are in the 21st century. In the 21st century, what type of education we should have now? So that's why this new education policy has come. So the government of India has released this new education policy. I don't know whether you have read it. If you have not read it, you please go through it. So a lot of advantages are there in that. They have a mixture of old and new. The old and what are the good things in the old system, and what are the new things we have to incorporate, and how to make the students benefit by this education. Even if one student leaves after 1 year, he will get a certificate. If he leaves after 2 years, he will get a diploma. And if he leaves after completing the course, he will get a degree. Or he can get 2 degrees. So, like, a lot of advantages. I think IIT Allahabad is actually, I had a meeting in the morning at 11 o'clock. You have a new curriculum and new scheme your institute has developed. And I think you are very lucky to join this institute. They have a new scheme. It is based upon the new education policy, which is a combination of old and new, ultra new, and the good old things. It is a combination of the both. You please go through the new education policy. You will find it interesting.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your kind words.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes.
Sir, I am
You please
Bhavarth.
tell your name. You please tell your name and speak.
Sir, I am Bhavarth Bhangdia. Sir, my
Okay, Mr.
question is,
Pandya.
in previous slide, you have said that Sanskrit is a nice language for interpretation for computer. Then why the programmers don't use and we can't use the for making the application and software?
Yes, it is a good question. So they said that it is a good language for computer program because considering the in computer programming, there should be exactness should be there. You cannot say 99.99% also is not acceptable. So it should be exact. So this Sanskrit grammar is also like that. It is exact. But whereas many of these languages, even including English and French and so on, they are not exact languages. So if you write one sentence, you have the different meanings and so on. Whereas the Sanskrit grammar is exact one. What you do in programming and so on, you do in this Sanskrit language also. So that's why they said that so you make use of some of the good aspects of that language in this thing, but as I said, they have not used that language as such, because there are some other disadvantages also there, like in English, so only 26 letters, and here in Sanskrit, there are, so 53 or 54 letters and so on. There are other things are also there. So, but from certain point of view, Sanskrit is the best language from the point of exactness compared to English and French and other languages. Don't hesitate. Any other questions are there? Please come forward.
Hello, sir. Hello,
Yes.
sir. Sir, I am Z2,
Mr.
sir.
You are what? Z2? What did you say?
G2.
G2. Okay.
हाँ,
G2. Okay.
सर
Okay.
हाँ
Hmm.
सर, आपने प्रीवियस स्लाइड में बोला था कि इंडिया मतलब जो भी चीज अभी के समय में खोजा गया वो इंडिया पहले ही खोज चुका था, ठीक है? तो मतलब हम लोग का तब वो सब बुक्स को हम लोग का सिलेबस में क्यों नहीं डाला जाता है जो मतलब पहले ही खोजा जा चुका है?
It is like this, because it was in the preliminary stages. They had even the science, physics, chemistry, mathematics had not advanced to a great height. But a beginning was made there. And they got many ideas, and those ideas were good. They found out the 365 point. So how many times the Earth will rotate and so on. They exactly found it. So it is like that. They made some earlier predictions and so on. They have become true, and now they are progressing further. Starting from that, it is only something like a basement. Using on the basement, you'll have to build the superstructure. So they had a good basement, and then many of those theories were found correct actually at one stage, initial stage, and then you'll have to develop it.
Okay, sir.
Yes, please. Okay, thank. Anyone else? Bhavika is speaking.
No, sir, I was just asking them if they have any questions.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay. So if there are no other questions, perhaps Bhavika, you can thank all of them for
Hello, sir.
attending this. Yes, Suraj. Yes, Suraj. Yes, Suraj,
Yes, sir.
tell me.
Sir, you once mentioned that India lacks teamwork. You said that in Japan it's one of the powers, and in India we lack it. So how can we cope up with that? How can we build a great teamwork?
So water, water is very much required for life. We're talking about water, is not water scarcity. Are you not talking? It is not clear. You are talking about water.
So not teamwork.
Yes, teamwork. That is one of our weaknesses. That is what they say. You are talking about teamwork. That's what they say. in Japan and so on, the teamwork is very good. 2, 3 people, 3, 4 people, they work on a project means, they work like real friends. Whereas in India, they say that, so the teamwork is somewhat weak because of many reasons and so on. So by many sociological studies, they found out. So we are very weak in this. That's why while these big companies and so on, while selecting students, they see so how is his team capability. Will he work as a good member in a team, or he cannot work as a good member in a team? So they test. They have ways of testing. So team spirit. So they expect good team spirit in all the people, but unfortunately, it is initially less, but there are ways of improving that, how to improve team spirit in any person. So if a person cannot work with the good spirit in a group, so he has to improve that. It is very essential.
Thank you, sir.
So I think we are done with the session. Thank you everyone for joining it. Thank you, sir, for imparting your knowledge.
It was my pleasure, madam. It was my pleasure. Okay, shall I
Everyone,
close?
Sir, I would like
Yes.
to ask you a question.
Yes, please.
Sir, you said India is the largest English-speaking country, but
Hmm.
if we take by population, India has the highest, not the highest, but the second highest population among the world. The
Hmm.
percentage of people speaking English is in India is only 10%. But if we take America or Japan or any other country, the percentage of people speaking English is way higher. So, is the comparison credible?
No, the comparison is like that, and it is not comparing with America, England, and so on. It is comparing with other countries like China, Indonesia, Japan, India, Pakistan, and so on. Considering all other mostly Asian countries and other countries, there in China, of course, their population is more than the population of India. They also study English in their schools and colleges. But in America, they prefer to have Indian people, because they say that Indian English is better. Indian English is better than Chinese English or Japanese English, because although the Chinese can speak English, but the Americans can't understand it properly. There because there is a influence of Chinese language in their speaking. Whereas Indian English, they understand properly. So that's why, from the point of view language, they prefer Indians because our English is better than their English. Considering all such people, who speak English language, so India has the largest thing. So although China's population is more, but their English is poor actually, compared to our English. Poor.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Another question, sir.
Yes.
If someone graduates from a good engineering college or good college in general and goes to America for his job, so shall we be proud of him? I mean, he's not in our country anymore. He's living in America only. So shall we be proud of him?
Proud of him means, if he goes there and he achieves something there, and then if he also talks good of India and so on, so if he shows the culture of India there, then we should be proud of them. But if they go there and even if they achieve something and if they start hating India, then perhaps we will not be appreciating them. So there are many people who go to US, they become American citizens also, but their culture will be so high, that even American people appreciate them. Oh, he's an Indian, so see how good he is, and so on. So
Sir, but
it's like that. Depends on individuals. So depends on individuals.
Sir, but if he had stayed in India, then we could have created another Google or another Microsoft in India only. he shouldn't have left India. If he is credible enough, if he has enough skills, he should have stayed in India. Why he is going to America?
Here, because I worked for 2 years in America and 1 year in France and so on. I've seen there, because there, the opportunities, if you have some knowledge and the chances of using your opportunities will be high there. Whereas in India, till now it is not so high. But I think here also we may improve. We may improve. But therein, if you have an opportunity, it is very high. You can make use of that, and you can go to any level. Perhaps you cannot become president of America, USA, but to any great level you can rise. That is what you have seen. Many Indians going there and becoming the CEOs and so on and so on. You can go to any level. Whereas here in India, it is not such a open thing. It is somewhat some closed one. It is it requires so I think some more decades, I think, to come to that level of encouraging everyone. This is the reason, actually.
Okay, sir. Thank
But-
you. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else wants to ask anything, or should we close here? So I think so they are done. Hmm. Thank you, sir. So I think everyone is done with their questions.
Thank you, Pavita. Thank you, and thanks to all the participants. I wish them all the best. Shall I close? Close, Pavita?
Yes.
Shall I close this meeting?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Everyone, you are having a 1 hour break, and after that you have to come back again at 2:30.